Now done with the phase diagram and Gibbs phase rule, we come to thermodynamic equilibrium. So what is thermodynamic equilibrium? A system is said to be in thermodynamic equilibrium if between the system and the surrounding, as also within the system, there exists mechanical equilibrium, chemical equilibrium and thermal equilibrium. If within the system as well as between the system and the surrounding, there exists no unbalanced force, if the pressure within the system remains constant, and if the external pressure is equal to the internal pressure of the system is said to be in mechanical equilibrium. What is chemical equilibrium? There is no chemical reaction going on in the system. So, a system when there is no chemical reaction going on, there is no transfer of matter within the system if the system has more than one phase in it or between the system and the surrounding. That means there is no transfer of matter from one phase to another phase within the system or between the system and the surrounding. In other words, the chemical potential must remain constant within the system or between the system and the surrounding. There should be no flow of any matter between the system and the surrounding. Then that system is said to be in chemical equilibrium. Next, we see what is thermal equilibrium. When within a system the temperature remains constant throughout its existence, then within that system there is no change in temperature between the system and the surrounding because the temperature is constant. So, there is no change in temperature between the system and the surrounding. There may be exchange of heat, but the temperature remains constant within the system. That is said to be a thermal equilibrium stage. So, when a system satisfies all these three conditions of equilibrium, that system is said to be in thermodynamic equilibrium. You may become curious at this point to know if there is anything called non-equilibrium in thermodynamics. Yeah, guess what can such a system be? It's very important because we are the ones who form that non-equilibrium system. If we were to have an equilibrium with our surrounding, then we would have never grown and we would have never lived. We would have always been in a continuous state. We would have never seen death either. But that is not to be. We are always in a non-equilibrium existence or condition with our surrounding. Next, we come down to now work done. We have seen that heat and work are path functions. They are not state functions in thermodynamics. They depend basically on what path the system follows to change from one initial state to the final state. Work done in vacuum is zero because there is no external pressure, and since we have defined work as P delta V, so work W is equal to 0 into delta V, and that's equal to 0. Is that the only situation when work is 0? In a cyclic process, when the initial and the final state are the same, then the work done is again equal to 0. There is no displacement since the system has come back to from where it started. Uniform circular motion is another example. The work done by any particle in uniform circular motion will be 0 at any point. From the formula for work, W is equal to F into d cos theta, where theta is the angle between the displacement and the centripetal force, which will always be 90 degree. Here you can see displacement is, we can see here it is tangent to this line of action of the centripetal force, and the cos 90 is going to be 0. So, then W is equal to Fd cos theta becomes W is equal to Fd 0, and that is equal to 0. So, we see that whenever we have a cyclic process, then the work done is 0. When we do work in vacuum, then it is again 0, that is work is again 0, or when any gas is allowed to expand in vacuum, the work done by the gas will no more be P delta V because P is 0. Again, when a body is performing uniform circular motion, the work done is 0. Now we will study about work done in isothermal reversible condition. What was that which we studied in isothermal condition? It was just W is equal to minus P delta V. So consider a cylinder fitted with a frictionless piston. I told you why we need to consider frictionless piston. So that the work done by the piston in overcoming the friction is ignored. We cannot consider that when we are considering the work done by the gas alone. Here is a piston, the movable piston, and on the piston we have put weights so that we can vary the external pressure slowly and gradually, because now we are going to consider an isothermal reversible condition to observe what the work done by the gas is. You can see here, when you have removed one of the weights, the piston has been moved up by the expanding gas, and it has done some work in the process. We'll soon see how to derive an expression for this maximum work.